Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of KY Go Digital Live. My name is Courtney DeRossa, and I am so excited for this episode. We have an awesome district with Fayette County on with us. But before we get into them, I want to talk about the awesome panelists we have that are going to be here just to field questions, check out the YouTube chat. We have Angie White, who is our Director of Instructional Technology at Oldham County Schools. We have Elaine Abernatha, who behind the scenes is making it happen, the Digital Innovation Leader of Jefferson County Public Schools. Whitney York, who is the Digital Learning Coach and the DAC all the way out in Murray. And popping in and out will be Heather Warriel. She is the Executive Administrator of Digital Innovation with Jefferson County. And Marty Park, the Chief Digital Officer, just popped in too for KDE. So it's wonderful to have you all. And the other two ladies down there in the corner that we're excited to hear and learn from about today are Amy Johns. She is the Associate Director of Technology for Instructional Technology at Fayette County Public Schools, and Ashley Faulkner, the STEM Learning Coach there as well. So what an awesome title. How are you doing, ladies?
We're great. We're excited to be here this morning.
Again, if you can get on the YouTube chat, and if you just join, subscribe to the channel, you can join in and ask some questions to these ladies. They're going to be talking about a ton of STEM and how you can put it into your own district and your own school. Is there anything else? If not, take it away, Fayette County.
All right, so we're excited to share a little bit about our STEM journey this morning. A couple different things that we're going to share related to our STEM bus, which I know a lot of folks are starting to hear about, but then also just what we're doing with this STEM learning coach position that we've created and how we're trying to support our classroom teachers and our STEM classes that a lot of our elementary schools have. So we have not arrived. We haven't figured out all the answers yet, but this is some of the things that we're trying out to see if we can have a little bit more impact in our district around STEM. So if you want to switch over to the slide deck, we'll share a little bit about what we're doing. So we've kind of started with a two-pronged approach with STEM. So we definitely have the STEM bus that we want to share information about, and then also what we're doing in the classroom as part of the STEM bus initiative, but also separate from that. And so I'm going to walk through a little bit of kind of the history of the STEM bus and how we got here and how we ended up with this awesome bus. And then Ashley is going to share some of the curriculum and things that she has been working on and designing to share with our kids. So we'll hop right in. So our purpose, one of the things that we have found in our district is that STEM is a buzzword. And so everybody is very excited about STEM and they want to talk about STEM, and our elementary schools, some of them have created STEM labs, STEM teachers, but it's kind of all over the place. And there's not really one group that is kind of owning that in our district. We certainly have science support from the district. We have math. Our department does technology and engineering. But it really wasn't, it was kind of falling in the cracks. And so we sort of inherited it, I guess, is the best way to take it. And so we're definitely taking a strong technology approach to the STEM side, but trying to make sure that we're hitting on all of those content areas. So about 3 years ago, one of our district techs actually had this brainchild as we were sitting at the KISTI conference and hearing about some other districts that were doing mobile buses, mostly related to providing summer feeding and cafeteria lunches and things to kids out in their communities. And so we started brainstorming, well, what if we came up with a bus that we could take to schools around the maker movement or around STEM? And so the whole idea of the STEM bus was born. But we didn't want to just focus on the bus and what we're doing with that. We also want to make sure that we're providing support for our STEM teachers and for our classroom teachers. We know that even in our schools that may have a STEM lab as part of their specials rotation, if that is the only way that kids are getting exposed to science, they're not getting enough. And so we're also trying to, big thumbs up there from Courtney, we're also trying to develop some resources that our classroom teachers can embed along with their language arts curriculum. We're in the process of adopting science curriculum in our district, so we'll kind of be watching how that rolls out. with our math and different things so that we can get more of that into the regular classroom as well. So kind of a two-pronged approach with the bus and kind of having an emphasis on STEM careers. One of the things that is really so important to me as we have started down this path is that all kids get access to some of the cool things that we can bring related to STEM, whether it's robotics and the different kinds of technology. But we want all kids to have access, and we want all kids to get excited and be able to see themselves in STEM-related careers. So a lot of this is really just about exposure for our kids and making sure that no matter what school they go to or where they live in our county, that they're able to experience some of these activities and see themselves in a STEM-related career, hopefully in the future. So step one, how do you build a bus? I won't spend a whole lot of time about this, but just want to share a little bit. So like I said, it's been about a 3-year process that began with us asking our transportation department if we could have a surplus school bus, and they said yes. So they gave us a bus, which I was quite frankly just shocked that it was that simple. That was the easiest part of the process, was getting the bus. The bus sat for almost 2 years while we tried to figure out how do we turn an old, ugly yellow school bus into something that kids are going to want to get on and get excited about. So this is, you can see just a little bit of the before and after in terms of what the bus was. We gutted it. It was literally a bus that was taken out of our rotation. And then the process that we went through and kind of what it looks like now. Question?
So you talked about how you planned it, and that's important because sometimes when people see this, they're going to think, well, I can just run out and do that.
Right.
There was planning involved in an intentional way to use what you put on the bus. It wasn't just about, getting the bus, so to speak,
Right. And part of it with the bus, I refer to it often as kind of the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. That was a little bit of our approach. Like, I'm going to figure out how to build this bus, and I'm going to figure out how to fund the renovation of this bus, and then I'm going to hopefully figure out how to get staff to be able to run the bus. And so we didn't have this all figured out 3 years ago, and some of the pieces are still falling into place as we speak. But we're doing it, and so we didn't let that be a deterrent. It is for sure the biggest kind of passion project I've ever taken on to see something through. But we're really excited about where it has gone and where we think we're headed with it. So do the next one. So just a little bit about how we did it. We were very lucky. We got the bus donated, but then we have partnered with a lot of different local folks to help us make this a reality. The biggest was our donation that we got from the Kloiber Foundation, which we're very lucky. It's a local group here in Lexington who has been supporting our district for the last several years, specifically around technology. And so they made a sizable donation to us for the purpose of renovating this bus, because we had a relationship with them, and I could take this dream, this kind of vision for them and what we wanted to do, and it aligned with what they are trying to support in our area here in Lexington and in our district. And so we were lucky that we got a sizable, a little bit over $100,000 that we could use to renovate this bus, so we kind of went all out. I will say, you could definitely do this without spending quite that much money, but we wanted to do it right and make sure that it was something that would really attract students. And then the other thing that was really pivotal was that we found a local architect firm who did all of the design and the fabrication. And so they worked with us, envisioned what this could be. There wasn't really a model like this. The only other buses that we had seen that nationally that were STEM buses were things where people had gone out and bought an RV brand new and renovated from scratch. Like, we're talking $1 million bus. So we're nowhere in that ballpark. But we wanted a space that was not going to be too elementary looking. We wanted a space that was going to be very flexible, that we could take out into the community, that would be self-sufficient. And so we worked with NOMI Design, and they're the ones that have done all of the work on that, and they're right here in Lexington, which is great. And then Image 360, which is listed here, they're the ones that did the wrap on the outside of the bus. So that is a vinyl wrap. NOMI created the design, but Image 360 wrapped up. I won't go through all of the milestones, but just kind of to give you an idea of how long it took. I'll be honest, the architects thought it would be about 3 months from start to finish, and about 9.5 months later, the bus was ready. I think they could do one much faster now because they've learned all the things that nobody knew in terms of renovating a bus in this manner. But we did a lot of things. I mean, there's very little on this bus that was there when we started in terms of the renovation, and I won't spend a whole lot of time on that. That's not necessarily the most interesting part of the conversation today, but just to kind of see the process and the timeline. We really started about last March, gutting the bus and kind of working through all of the different pieces. And we launched to our school board in January and made our first school visit in February. And to date, we visited, four schools. So we're kind of doing a soft launch this spring, testing some of our instructional materials and just our processes. Our folks that are working on the bus, and I'll show you, introduce them in just a minute, but they're in the process of getting their CDLs so that they can drive the bus. That has been probably the biggest hurdle, is who's going to drive the bus. It's amazing, even though this school bus has one seat for only a driver and can never transport children ever again, they still have to get all of the same licenses and certifications as a regular school bus driver. So that's been an adventure for them, which I'm happy to say I am not doing. I will not be driving the bus. But so we are live and out in schools. So our grander vision for us, just because of our size, when we kind of complete this soft launch this spring and summer, we'll be doing some community events. We're actually working with Lexington Legends. We'll be at STEM Days. If anybody's bringing kids to some of their STEM Days to see a ball game, we'll be there with the bus for those as well. But starting in the fall, our goal is to visit every elementary school next year, which for us will be 37 schools. We're opening another elementary school in August. So I realize that makes us quite a bit different from most districts in the state. But because of that, we are choosing to focus on third grade initially, until we kind of figure out how quickly we can get kids through the bus. Depending on the number of third grade classes that a school has, it will take between 1 and 3 days for us to get just all the third graders through the bus. And so that is our target group, and it will take most of the school year to visit 37 schools. And then in between, we'll be doing, other things like back to school rallies, some STEM nights, camps in the summer, special events that we have in the district. So a variety of opportunities. So it won't just be third graders that get to be on the bus, but we thought if we target a specific grade level, then over time we can make sure that we're hitting all elementary kids, and hopefully kind of sparking that interest for them. Some of the things, just features on the bus, and go ahead and we can flip to the next slide. So we have a virtual tour. You may want to go back and check it out later. Ashley's going to attempt to kind of drive through that a little bit. It's on our website, just to give you a sense of how the bus is laid out. So on the bus, we have designed it to be completely flexible. So what you're seeing here are mobile cabinets with dry erase tops that we can rearrange and basically plug into the walls of the bus wherever we like them. There are a couple of, you'll see in the image there, we had to cover the wheel wells on the bus. So where there's those humps, it's amazing when you take out all the chairs, the things that you see on a bus. But so we have some tabletops there that we can rearrange and kind of use that basically for 8 stations in the bus if we like. Currently they've got it set up in this image to be 4 stations. And so we bring the kids on the bus. With the third grade class, we'll split them in half. We bring about half the kids on the bus, and the other half will stay in the classroom. I actually have 2 STEM learning coaches, so they divide and do that instruction and walk them through some different modules. But everything on the bus is intended to be flexible. So we have slot walls, we have mounted iPads. Everything that you see can be moved. We could clear out the entire bus if we wanted to, take all of these things off of the bus. And we also have our very popular constellation ceiling, so we can turn on and off constellations one by one. To talk about those, they are labeled. These are all constellations that can be seen from the Kentucky skyline. And so that's been a lot of fun. I'm not sure there will ever be another constellation ceiling because the architects have said probably never again. It was way more labor intensive than they anticipated. It was their idea, so they couldn't back out. But it's a lot of fun to have that on the bus. You can see Rexy in the background there. He's our
bus driver,
our bus driver, our mascot for some of the units that we're doing right now. But we have a mounted LCD screen in the back, and a section where we've got some portable stools that we can kind of gather the kids when they get on the bus and do a little intro for them, and then set them free to work through some stations. And then the outside of the bus, yeah. These pictures are a little bit dark. We were at a school and we were under their canopy, so it's a little bit darker, but we actually have an awning on the bus that we can put out so that when it's nicer weather, especially when we're at camps and different summer events, that we can do some outside events as well. We're waiting for that warmer weather. Today would be a great day to be outside, but so far we've not had much weather warm enough to do that, but we're excited about that part as well. And then on the other side of the bus, you get a little bit of the sense of the wrap. If you want to go in later to look at some of the pop-up images, we won't do that. But we did also install a wheelchair accessible lift on the very back of the bus. And that was a little bit of an adventure to figure out how to do that and to get a company that would do that. And it started out, the rationale for that was to help us to get the carts on and off the bus and rearrange as we needed to. But also very important to get our students on there. I didn't know if we would ever use it. And in our third school visit, we had a student who was wheelchair bound, who we were able to move up on the bus. And that was a really big deal for us and for that student to be included. And even if he wasn't able to interact, because he had some pretty severe physical limitations, but he was able to be there with the other students and have that kind of same experience. So that's been really important to us as an investment. Because we didn't have a bus that had a lift already on it for us to use from the surplus standpoint. So, and
okay, Amy, can I ask, well, not even ask a question. I'm just like, I'm freaking out over here. I have so many ideas. Okay, so obviously, and I love that you said, you're a huge district and this brings STEM to all of these schools in your district, and we're not. But I just called Luke Carter, my partner over here, and said, oh my gosh, look at this constellation ceiling. We can do this in our library. We can do this in our other spaces. Sure. So, I mean, there's just so many great things that you're doing too. The fact that it's a bus, and I said in the YouTube chat, I love that you've brought it to community events and you're doing after school things, because wow, you can spotlight so many different things. So, I know we could never, with 3 schools, that a bus wouldn't be viable, but we could create these same experiences for our students already in 3 schools. And so I don't even really have a question. That's just so exciting. I'm just so excited. Like, I have all these notes already of things that we can do. So thank you for sharing. And I love that. It's just giving so much more access to your students in your district. And it's something that will, it's going to be amazing. So kudos.
Well, thank you. And honestly, and that's a great segue for where we're headed. Courtney, do you have another question?
I was just going to, you were talking about sharing, Whitney, and how much they don't care to share. Like, I literally, was it 3 weeks ago, Amy sent her a message, and I had a CIO in a district that wanted to go and see her district and see the bus and kind of just go through. She arranged for that to happen, literally almost on the spot within 48 hours. So they don't care to share. And I think that speaks volumes to where you're talking about Fayette County, but you all, kids are kids, in our state, so you don't care to share. And I love that about you all. And I know that you're active with KISTI, and you're just in it for the common good of kids getting exposed to all this, enriched curriculum. And I appreciate that. And that's the type of district you have and the type of leadership that you have, Amy.
Thank you. And totally, that anybody who wants to come see it, we'll be happy to make arrangements for that. I will say, we were talking a little bit before the show started, for anybody who's going to be at the state STLP championship, we're 99% certain the bus will be there. Jeff is working with, he and I talked yesterday, he's working with Rep Arena to try to figure out, in the midst of all the construction mess that's there currently, how we can get the bus in and where we can park it and those kinds of things. So we're trying really hard to have it there, because I know a lot of folks will be there as well. But yeah, we're certainly happy to share. And the next section actually is going to be about that. So it's really not so much about having to have a bus. A bus makes sense for us because we are a large district and we have so many schools, and they don't all have the same resources. But the other part of this kind of initiative for us that's important to me is designing resources and lesson plans and modules and things that can be on the bus or not. The things we're doing on the bus, there's nothing special about it being on a bus, other than we can kind of bring this field trip experience to kids. But we're designing lessons and things that could be used in any classroom, in the library, and the STEM lab, whatever it may be. And so actually the next section that I want to talk about, step 1 was building the bus. Step 2 was building the team. And so we actually have 2 STEM learning coaches. I've got Ashley Faulkner here with me today. She came on board in August. And then in January, we hired Josh Rayburn, who is our second STEM learning coach. So the two of them are tag teaming. And of course, you can see in the picture here, they're all in. Ashley is Miss Frizzle, and she wears the dress, and the kids love it. And Josh dons his lab coat, and just makes it a lot of fun and exciting for the kids, which is part of building that interest and that excitement, I think, for the kids around all of that. But we actually worked with the district and used Title IV funds for these two positions, at least initially. So we know that we have them for next year as well. We're hopeful that funding mechanism will stay in place, but if not, I'm working on that. If we build it and prove the concept that, if we need to roll that into district funding, that it's going to be so invaluable that, as a district, we'll have to find a way to make that work. And I think really they are the key to all of this actually happening. If it had been dependent on me trying to get the bus out or my handful of visual learning coaches, it wouldn't have happened. And so they have really taken it and run with it. Ashley, I'm going to brag on her a little bit, but she was a STEM learning or a STEM teacher at an elementary school here for a number of years, and then decided to go back into the classroom on her own last year just to make sure that she was still in touch with the classroom perspective and what was going on. And so she has really brought a lot of experience and excitement and passion around STEM and has been working to design some resources. So I'm going to tag team to her and let her share some of the things that we're doing both on the bus that could totally be used in the classroom, and then some other things that she's doing specifically for our classroom teachers. Ashley?
Yeah, great. So the first things that you're going to see here are kind of like what we're doing on the bus. And as Amy said, we have the resources available to us to bring into, schools that might not necessarily have the resources, or they have it and they don't know how to use it. And we've actually had teachers in the last few visits that were like, oh, that's how we could use the Spheros, or, oh, we have a bunch of we-dos. Like, that makes so much sense. So really, it's a two-part thing. We want kids to be excited, but we also want teachers to be excited. So what you're seeing here is our first module that we kind of tested out. And again, Amy said we're focusing on third grade. So we tried to align our first module to our fossils standard in NGSS, which is all about analyzing and interpreting data from fossils in order to see kind of how environments have changed from long ago. And as you can see here, we bring in the virtual reality aspect of it, and we're just using the Google Expedition headsets, and you could use a cardboard with any device and it would still work. But that has been by far the most popular one amongst kids and adults alike. So when they step in, they get, a 360 perspective of what it's like to be a paleontologist. And the expedition takes them through how a fossil forms, but it also takes them through what a paleontologist does every day in order to get the information that they use, which is that career component that Amy mentioned earlier. And then you can see like our digital microscopes. And I had no idea how many of our kids have never used or seen a microscope. And it's not normally the most exciting thing for kids, but when they get a physical fossil and they get to put it underneath the microscope and zoom in and see the different structures of what used to be of an animal, it's really kind of a cool experience for them because they really do feel like a scientist, and that's what we're all about. And then the last two, we're using different technologies. You can see the We-Do down here, and then also Sphero, where the Sphero one's kind of my favorite, but the kids are given these clues from around our country of the state fossils. So for example, Kentucky state fossil, we give them a clue about how, Kentucky must have once been covered in water, and then they had to code, and we had little cards that helped them figure it out, but they had to code a Sphero to travel to Kentucky, and then they were given another clue, and then they had to figure out which code would take them to California. We're trying our best to bring in the career, the NGSS, the engineering standards, which you can see are listed there, the ISTE standards for students, and the new up-and-coming computer science standards also that we're pretty excited about implementing also. So that's one of our modules. And then I'll talk briefly about our other one, our Forces in Motion one. And you can see again, you have that virtual reality showing up again because it was so popular that if a school decides to choose the force one over the fossil one, I didn't want it to be because one had virtual reality and one didn't. So we tried our best to incorporate that into this one too. And you can see in red here, you know, there's our alignment to a STEM career again. And in all of them, we offered a high-tech kind of thing where, you know, we've got Sphero testing friction on different surfaces, and the kids have to measure how far it went, and then they have to be able to analyze that data to determine which surface, you know, caused the most friction between it and the Sphero. And then we also have a low-tech option too, which all these things I had in my homeroom classroom last year when I taught 4th grade. And that's the other aspect of it, is that you don't have to have this fancy technology in order to make STEM work in your classroom. So kids had to test to see how long it took for our Lego man to fall from a certain drop point down to the landing zone, and then they had to design a parachute out of common items like pipe cleaners and coffee filters and plastic bags and stuff to figure out which option, which design solution was best. And then, as Amy mentioned, we do go to community events and that kind of thing. And usually for those bigger events where we have multiple grade levels, we try to incorporate things that if you're 5, you could do it. If you're 18, you could do it. So you can see that there's some setups and stuff. You know, we've got a little maze made of Legos where they have to navigate Spheros, and depending on their grade level, they can either just drive Sphero or they could actually program it using the angles and the speeds. And then, you know, we mentioned our microscopes and our VR goggles, and then again, a low tech option, which is our Kiva planks, where, you know, kids can just, you know, create. And so many times we don't have time for them to actually get to that creation part, or have a student choice in what they want to make. And then, so as Amy mentioned, Josh and I, we kind of tag team. So if one of us is on the bus, the other one of us is in the classroom doing something. And so here are the 2 different in-class activities that we have. For the fossil module, I created a breakout game that incorporates high tech. So they do have iPads for this too, and they have QR codes that are within there, and it exposes them to the content part of it, where they get exposure to the vocabulary and the language. And then they also have to like solve the puzzles that are within it to try to deepen their understanding of what the content, the NGSS content is that they're getting. And then you can see the baseball tee engineering. Amy mentioned our Lexington Legends that are, you know, we're helping out. We kind of have a partnership with them. So we designed an engineering challenge where the kids, again, a low-tech option for those teachers. I had thousands of index cards and tape in my classroom. This is something that they could do tomorrow, and just take themselves through the engineering design process. And I mean, they could do it on their own. They could do it in a small group. You could do it whole group. So we tried to incorporate that for them too. And the links to those activities are there also. And so this is the whole reason why we do what we do. And you can just see that, you know, we have targeted at initially our CSI schools, and several of our CSI schools also don't have funding, or they don't have the resources for a STEM lab or the technology components that we mentioned. But you can just see that I could with 100% certainty say that we have had 100% engagement in the 4 schools that we've been to. And you can just see, like, on their little faces how excited they are to be doing something like this, and, you know, to be interacting with tools that they've never seen before. And then one of the other things that we mentioned was, how do we get STEM not just in our bus, not just in the STEM lab or the science lab, but how do we get it to teachers who are already jam-packed and they don't have time in their schedule to even go to the bathroom? How do we get this to them? So at the start of August, we kind of were still waiting on the bus and that kind of thing to happen. And so I was able to go and see some of the schools up north and kind of what they were doing. And then also kind of reflecting on my experiences as a classroom teacher, which actually was crucial to me developing some of these things. But the first thing are maker maps. If you're a librarian, and the library is constantly evolving and that kind of thing too, and lots of them are starting to incorporate maker spaces, but they're not really sure how to get kids engaged and behavior under control and still have a task but allow for student choice. So one of the schools I visited up in Ohio, Sycamore Schools, they were using maker maps on their bus. And I was like, that's an awesome idea. So, in education, we borrow and we tweak. So I made these little maker maps that allow for different levels of difficulty, but you could do it with, common things like kiva planks, which are just those little wooden boards. You could do it with your circuits, but essentially it allows kids, you could do it in the morning time when kids are coming in, and you have that like 30-minute block of time where kids are either in the cafeteria or you're doing morning work. So instead of the boring worksheet morning work, let them do and make and create during that time. And, like I said, we have the low tech options. So index card, maker map, circuits, most fourth grade at least, science rooms have a circuit kit that they could be making with. Toothpicks and little like gummies, like you could create and do things with that also. So that was one of the things I was pretty excited about, and I've shared with librarians and with classroom teachers that they thought that was something easy enough to implement within their room, like tomorrow kind of thing. So something at my elementary school last year, I was at Athens-Charlesburg Elementary, and they actually already had the idea of doing STEM bins, which so we had 4 teachers on our team, and each teacher came up with 6 weeks worth of STEM bins. And mainly what it is for those kids who do get to school early, or kids that have to bring their breakfast into the classroom type of thing. It allows them to have student choice. It allows them to, like I said, do and create. And then it also has like a reflection component too, where they had to plan and they had to do the engineering design, but then they also had to reflect on, the skills that they use throughout the week, like problem solving and that kind of thing. So we made these little STEM bins and challenge cards, again, with things that I had within my room. And it worked out really well because each teacher did 6 different things. And then we went through those weeks doing that, and then we each swapped. So we had bins with the directions and the task cards in it, and we shared throughout our grade level. And then this one was my like baby at the beginning, because as a 4th grade teacher, I was super frustrated because I never had time to do science. And it was, we were assessed in it, but we've got 20 minutes. And it's like, what in the world am I going to do? And we adopted an ELA curriculum. And just for me being a STEM-minded person, I was able to make some connections as I was going through the curriculum. But to a homeroom teacher who's brand new, or maybe one that's been teaching for 30 years and like doesn't really know what's out there, I went through every story in the 3rd grade curriculum and in the 4th grade curriculum. And I wrote our essential questions. So this is the format of Wonders, which is the program that we use. And I tried to find, there's 2 different books. So there's the reading writing workshop, and then there's a literature anthology. And I tried to find some type of STEM activity that they could be doing in a small group during that time. So, you do your guided reading, but you also do the technology. Well, let's make a STEM station in that too. And, they go to vocab, but then we get to go to STEM type of thing. So I did this already in my classroom a little bit, but if somebody would have given me this, that would have been so much easier than me going to find it myself. So,
you're going to take that. I mean, that is awesome. Like, yeah. I love that so much.
Great. Yeah, thank you. It was a beast to do, but at the beginning when I was waiting for the bus to be done, I was like, this is the perfect time to actually make something that teachers might actually be able to use. So there's links throughout it. And a lot of it does involve some technology and that kind of thing, but a lot of it also is how to use your Chromebooks in a more design type of thinking way, rather than a intervention program, or let's just pull up your digital book and write about it in there. Like, we're trying to find ways to make this a little better.
I have to say something because I'm dying. You are like a teacher's dream, and I commend, and I know that every district can't. I know if you're watching this and you're like, I can't get a STEM coach, but you are maximizing the tools, and you're helping those teachers that they want it, but they don't know how.
Right.
I have a question though. So how do you get what you just showed us to Fayette County teachers? Because that's massive. Your district is massive. So how do you work with the teachers? Like, what's your plan? And you may be getting ready to go over that, but I'm just curious of how you scale that. If a district was watching this, or a digital learning coach, or someone wanted to mimic I know Whitney's nodding, how do we do this? How do you scale that?
Right. So the first, when I finished one of these, I kind of sent it out to our STEM and our science reps in each building. So if the school doesn't have a STEM lab, they have a science rep. Normally it's a 4th grade teacher. So I sent it to them first and kind of asked them to take a look at it and then share it out with their staff that way. We also shared it out through our monthly tech snacks, which Amy hasn't probably mentioned this, but I'll go ahead and put a plug in for that. Each one of us, comes up with a short little paragraph to explain a cool tool or something that teachers might not have known. I put that in our initial one in October and sent that out also. And then I'm doing a PD on this for our 3rd and 4th grade teachers, or any elementary teacher could attend, but those are the only ones that I've developed so far. I'm doing a PD in May for them as they start thinking about next year, because it was kind of like bad timing because it was right before winter break, and it was like they're too busy to deal with this right now. But as they're going forth into summer planning and wrapping up this year and doing their own reflections and that kind of thing, I wanted this to be in their hands. And it was funny because I was at our science curriculum meeting the last Monday and Tuesday, and one of the ladies that was sitting next to me, I was just talking about how, we were looking at different programs and that kind of thing. She's like, let me show you what somebody sent me. And I was like, okay, what is it? And she was like, it's the Wonders Aligned STEM stuff. And I was like, huh, like, let's pull it up. Let's see what it is. And I was like, yeah, I made that. And she's like, what? So it is out there. It is out to our teachers. We'll be publicizing it a little bit more. And there is a link also in that document for teachers to go on and fill out a Google form and let me know if they did anything, to send me pictures if they did stuff, and then also if they have a suggestion or a way to change it or their own idea for a lesson to put in too. So yeah, that's that. And then another thing that I noticed for teachers, you spend so much time researching and trying to find a site that you could use on Chromebooks or you could use on your desktop to help, like a simulation or just like a site where there's free resources for teachers. And so I compiled a list along with our STEM PLC. So we started a little STEM PLC of the lab teachers, and we did a classroom, and they shared all the different resources that they've been using, and I shared all the ones that I used when I was in the classroom too. So we compiled a list on our Fayette County website where you can also see there's our Wonders Aligned 3rd grade and 4th grade curriculum kind of alignment thing that I showed you just a second ago. And then a bunch of different sites. Some are free, most are free actually. Some you have to pay for, but just to get that to them, that these are vetted things that teachers have actually used in our district. Let's see.
All right, so that's kind of our story and our journey. You can see why I'm so excited about Ashley and what she's been developing. I think that's really the key. I mean, the bus is great, and we definitely are going to put a lot of emphasis on trying to get that out to that experience to our kids, as many of them as possible every year. But I think the real linchpin is that connection back to classroom teachers and trying to find ways that we can support them to embed some of these things into the other content that they're already accountable for. And so things like, for us, where we've adopted the Wonders curriculum as our ELA curriculum, having that connection, I think, is probably one of the most powerful things that Ashley has done so far. I won't say we, because that was all her. But to get those kinds of resources out to teachers and try to help them see where they can kind of sneak some of that stuff in on a more daily basis, so it's not just this one-time event. The bus is great, but that's a scattershot approach. That hopefully it'll be a day they remember and they'll be excited about it, but that's not going to have necessarily a lasting impact than to hopefully get kids excited. So I want to put in a real quick plug, and then if we've got questions, happy to do any of that. We do, if you want another opportunity to see the STEM bus, it will be at our IFL conference, which is on June 7th. We just opened the call for presenters this week, so if other districts are doing great things around STEM or technology, classroom teachers, all those kinds of things, we would love to have presenters from around the state come. It is free for anybody who wants to attend, but the registration will open May 1st for folks around the state. To join us, we'll be at Frederick Douglass again, which is our new high school. So hopefully it will just be a great experience. We've had pretty good luck with it the last few years and typically get good feedback from folks about what we're doing at that conference. So we would welcome you guys to join us. But other than that, and then here's just for some more information, our STEM Bus website, fcps.net/STEMbus. We are trying to be all over social media related to the STEM Bus and other things that we're doing in our department. So we certainly encourage folks to join us there. But are there any questions or things that we can answer?
We just had a lot of people that were active on the chat and singing your praises. We have Bob Moore that's here, of course. All of us are active on here. We have Letitia Sparks, she's on there, and a lot of, and Allison Langley, just thanking you for coming on the show and creating all of these amazing tools and sharing. So we're all excited to get to possibly see this very soon. And you're not just, I love that the focus is, like you said, not just a shot with the bus, but it's just
right.
as a holistic view across the district to make sure that STEM is active in every student's lives on a regular basis. So just commend you. Just awesome work. Thank you.
Yeah, we're happy to share. And you'll have a link to the slide deck and the resources, I guess. So
absolutely.
I can get to those things if they want them.
That I actually had some requests for the resources. So yes, thank you. Yeah, that'll help.
Great job, ladies. I mean, it's so important. We can buy stuff, and that's kind of where we are in the stage of buying stuff, which is important. I mean, you do have to sometimes invest some money in some tools, and you've got to go out and get that stuff. But then you stand around and you look at it and you think, how do I get this into the hands of the kids? And not just into the hands of the kids to play with, but everything you shared was really high level learning, all connected to the standards. And that you made that look easy, and that's not easy. You know, it's much easier to just bring them in. Yeah. I mean, you made it look like, yeah, you know, we just connect all these big modules to the standards, no big deal. And it's all these activities around the same, you know, concept. And I'm going, I'm good with one like 30-minute session if we can get it all, you know, I mean, it's just amazing. So remembering that that's really the point, and that we connect back to those standards, and also that it takes really good people to do that, really good instructional time and coaching and working with teachers. And it's a constant ongoing process. So just great job. You know, obviously the bus is great. We actually have a STEM bus in Christian County too that's a little near us. I don't know if y'all knew that. But I'm sure they visited you, and it's the same kind of concept. But, you know, just remembering what the point of this is and working around improving student achievement and giving them those opportunities. It just, I mean, you've nailed it. It's amazing. So thank you, because we will definitely steal lots of ideas from you, and we'll be happy to share too.
Great. Yeah, we want to see what you guys come up with.
And not forgetting what it's like to be a teacher. I know you talked about that you went back to that role, and you constantly. I think even connecting with administrators and the teachers, and not forgetting what it was like, and how it's not just drop everything, let's do STEM. You know, it has to fit, it has to be aligned. And I couldn't agree more with Whitney when she says you all really made that sound like, oh yeah, we just, you know, and the work and the way you make it work so that teachers see the value when you talk about every kid being engaged. What teacher doesn't want that? Right. And then at the same time, learning their content in a deeper level. Yeah, sorry, I'm really excited about that piece of that.
And the other thing that was so cool was that, you know, the teachers have like a hands-off teaching role for a second when we come with our bus, and they get to engage with their kids in a way that they don't normally get to, and they get to learn with their kids, and they just get to watch and see how everything is laid out. And we've had teachers that came up and they're like, oh, he came in this morning and he was a mess, and like he was just, we knew he was going to have a bad day, and I didn't think he would be able to handle it. And it's those kids that, you know, I want teachers to understand that, like, anytime that we've done this, and anytime I was a STEM teacher, and anytime I did something like this in my actual 4th grade classroom, those kids that have the behaviors, or those kids that already know that they are not good at reading or math, it really, that equity part comes in, and it levels that playing field for those kids. And they usually are the ones that absolutely thrive in that kind of learning scenario. So, you know, that's motivation enough for us as teachers to get more of those things in our room, because when they do have to sit down and do that cold read, and do those multiple choice questions and that extended response, they at least have a concrete example and experience to reflect on when they're doing that. So,
well, it's amazing. And Angie, we're so glad that you're here too. I know it's been nice for you to be on the panel for 2 episodes. And Elaine, do you care to kind of tell everybody what's coming up next with KY Go Digital and where they can continue to connect and share and all that good stuff?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So you can receive on-demand video support by subscribing to our Kentucky Go Digital Live channel on YouTube, and just click that subscribe. If it's red, that means that you're not currently subscribed. And our next show, we are going to be live on April 12th at 11 a.m. And we're going to explore how to Google your way to comprehensive school counseling program. That is with Kelly Caldwell and Laura Dedick from Model Laboratory High School. And we have also created a Facebook page to help support. And you can find us on Facebook. Just search Kentucky Go Digital. And you can also follow and contribute to the hashtag Kentucky Go Digital on Twitter. So remember to keep your eyes open for the Kentucky Go Digital regional dates to sign up to come. That is going to come up as well. We have lots, 6 different times that you'll be able to go across. Hopefully you can go to at least one of them. Until then, don't forget you can connect all your good ideas to our hashtag so that others can share them around the state. So until next time, Kentucky Go Digital. Get involved with Kentucky Go Digital. Attend regional events, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or follow us on Twitter.